Hi, so this is the second day in Tromso, our last full day in Tromso, and it was really busy. There are things that we wanted to do that we just couldn't because it was so full of activity and we got exhausted. And then we walked over and got ready for the citizen science project that was part of Wandering Owl, this group that does Arctic exploration projects all over at night, whale hunting, dog sleds, northern lights, all of it. Ours was citizen science. And so there were 5 of us, a Korean, 2 Malaysian, and then Singaporeans, and Carrie and I. And we went to a bunch of different fjords and valleys and went through little villages, and I mean tiny villages that looked like something out of a fairy tale. And we had a great time. We saw lots of, I'm going to look at my notes here. We saw lots and lots of wild berries. It was the right time of year. And so that included cloudberries, which weren't ripe yet, but really valuable, really expensive. Blueberries that we were just eating as we were finding them. Lingonberry, which is pretty cool. And crowberries. And our guide is this very entertaining, knowledgeable, warm guide who's from Spain but living in Norway doing this. He's here because climate change is impacting Spain so much that he finds the heat in the summer unbearable. If he moves back to Spain, it has to be in the mountains because summers and the coast is just too hot. At the same time, he acknowledges that climate change is a big problem in the Arctic up here as well. We went past the Blue Man Mountain, that tallest mountain in Tromso that the person on the plane told us about, and that there's no snow right now on the top, and there almost always was. And he pointed out that we saw 2 glaciers. They were small, and he pointed out how the glaciers are all receding, the water's receding. It's affecting wildlife. It's affecting the land. And then to make it worse, there's a Canadian company that's mining in the area, actually in Sami land, and dumping the refuge into the ocean because there's no law against that. And so there's 2 groups of Sami. There's the reindeer herding Sami, but there's also the seafaring Sami. And so the reindeer herding Sami are being stressed and really in danger of losing livelihood in Sweden because that's the area of the rare earths that will be mined, and that's going to affect herding. Here in this part of Norway, the mining is going to impact the seafaring, the health of the coast. And so global warming and exploitation of resources is a real problem for these people being the Sami. Anyway, so we saw these plants. We saw lots of wildlife. There was gulls and fowl, lots of seabirds, but we also saw jellyfish. Now they were in the process of dying, but they were these purple, beautiful blobs that were in the water. We saw some crabs and shells that were in different stages of death on the water, kelp and barnacles. And at the very end, we saw 2 reindeer. And so it was kind of a really cool day. We saw multiple waterfalls, and those were really beautiful. And as we stopped at these different fjords, we would hike up and down. Everybody hiking much faster than me. But the views, the vistas, the sounds, the smells, it was just wonderful. And then coming back, we saw our 2 reindeer. And that was really exciting for us. And these are the animals of the Sami who have large herds. You never ask somebody how many you have. That's too personal of a question. But like a couple of weeks from now, you can go there and you can spend time with the Sami family and feed the reindeer and have a meal in there. It looks like a teepee, and then they'll do traditional singing. So really cool, but not right now. Right now they're moving the herds for the change of seasons. Okay, so we did that, and it was wonderful. We got back into town, and town was really busy. In the morning, there was the setting up for the food fair, second day of that, which is really blocks and blocks and blocks of food. But in the center of town, there was also a very large protest protesting in favor of protecting the Palestinians. And again, this is the country of the Nobel Peace Prize. This is the country that believes people should work together whenever they can. And there's a lot of outrage about what's happening in Palestine. So Gaza and the West Bank. And then in the evening, there was the opening of the out or gay, lesbian art reception. We never got to that because we were just too exhausted. So we get back to town. We have a meal. We ended up having to stop for pizza. Carrie had a reindeer pizza, a little strange, very peppery. I had an Arctic pizza, which meant that there was fish on it and different types of olives and peppers and onion. And I'm telling you, there's a reason why fish pizza has not taken the world by storm. Good reason. But I had it, so I tried it. Afterwards, we were trying to go over to the Sami Museum, didn't get there in time because there was this really big, bright rainbow. And so we were all stopping and taking pictures, and it was kind of almost a celebration. It was really pretty neat. We got home and we just rested. So tomorrow the plan is to go to the University Museum of the North and look at their big exhibit on the Sami. Maybe talk to some people if they're available. I don't know. It's Sunday. But that's our big plan for tomorrow. And then we'll be taking the bus to the airport and go on our way to Bergen. So that'll be the end of our Arctic experience.
Tromso, or its Sami name, Romsa, was our introduction to the Arctic Circle. The Arctic is a vast and diverse area. The Arctic Council, the nations that provide policy for the area include Russia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark by way of Greenland, Iceland, Canada, and the United States. An additional advising group are the recognized indigenous peoples of the Arctic. Climate change is impacting the entire planet. However, climate change is occurring quicker in the Arctic. Depending on the location, climate warming is occurring 2 to 6 times faster than the rest of the planet. Climate change in the Arctic has many consequences. It threatens structures such as buildings and roads. It opens up shipping routes. It potentially opens up drilling and mining fields. The weather changes diminish grazing fields for reindeer and alters fishing grounds. As we unpacked our bags in Tromso, we were aware we were in the traditional land of the indigenous peoples of Europe, the Sami. The home of the Sami people is known as Sápmi. It includes parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and the Kola Peninsula of Russia. The largest population of Sami live in the Kingdom of Norway. Climate change is a very real threat to the Sami way of life. Our visit to the Arctic would become a dance between appreciating the beauty of the Arctic and being keenly aware of how climate change was impacting the Sami people. The vast Arctic topography is diverse. There are the forests of Finland and Russia. There is the treeless tundra, the ice sheet of Greenland, icebergs, glaciers, and huge rivers. The changing climate is resulting in vegetation vital to grazing reindeer to be unavailable. Wildfires are erupting in Siberia. Shrubs or shrubification is transforming the tundra. Rapid Arctic warming or Arctic amplification is making areas unstable. The Tromso area is an Arctic urban area set on two islands near the mainland. The area has been inhabited since the end of the last ice age. Climate change is an undeniable reality, but so is the breathtaking beauty of the Norwegian Arctic. As we drove out of Tromso, we witnessed the impact of the ending of the last ice age. Glaciers that had made the land uninhabitable melted and created fjords, rivers, and waterfalls. The coast was full of islands, and the inland gave birth to mountains. The very fact that this land of fisheries, marine birds, and mammals, whales, and reindeer were in danger because of climate change was sobering. Our small international group, led by our guide from Wandering Owl, drove out of Tromso into the countryside. Our journey took us to islands, to small villages hidden in coves along the shore, and along a wall of mountains that we knew were the home of trolls. We stopped for waterfalls, and there were many to stop and gaze upon. We participated in a typical Norwegian Arctic activity. We picked wild berries. We picked Arctic raspberries, crowberries, my favorite lingonberries, and the prize of Norwegian cuisine, cloudberries. We climbed rocks, walked along rivers, and stepped between succulents to find the berries. We only picked the berries that were ripe. At one particularly beautiful fjord that held large rocks, soft sands, loud birds, and welcoming beaches, we stopped for our sustainable vegan lunch. With hearty bread, strong coffee, berry drinks, and boisterous camaraderie, we took in the view of the fjord and the smells and tastes of Norway. After our lunch, we continued island hopping. At a particularly rugged fjord cove, we stopped to participate in some citizen science. Citizen or community science is the tool and data collection multiplier. Scientists provide the experimental design. They provide standardized procedures for data collection and data reporting. The experimental multipliers are the citizens who are trained to strictly follow the demands of collection, gathering, and reporting. The interpretation of the data and the dissemination of the findings are the responsibility of the scientists and associated universities. The Arctic is sensitive to climate change. It is important to be protective of the land. At the same time, Norwegians are allowed to camp on any public land. The citizen science experiment our group participated in was evaluating the impact of campfires on the land and water. We were walked through the theory, the data collection, and the reporting app. The goal was to determine if campfire procedures were being followed, and if so, did the fires have any detrimental impact on the area. It felt good to participate in an activity that was meant to care for the environment. After the citizen science project, we headed back to Tromso. On our way, we spotted 2 reindeer. It was the perfect ending to an exhilarating excursion into the Norwegian Arctic countryside. Our last destination in Tromso was the University of Tromso, the Arctic University of Norway. This is a very specialized research university. It focuses on all things Arctic. This includes auroral light research, space science, linguistics, health sciences, multicultural studies, and Sami culture. The university is an active collaborator with the University of the Arctic, which includes over 200 member institutions and organizations. The university has an Arctic focus and an international student body. The programs demonstrate global engagement. However, it is also simply a beautiful campus situated on Tromsoya Island. Our excursion was to a specific section of the university, the Tromso University Museum. The museum focus was made for us and for living green on a blue planet. A sample of the exhibitions includes Northern Lights, Viking burial traditions, and medieval churches in Norway. My environmental needs were met with the exhibit Arctic Wildlife, which addressed the fragility of Arctic wildlife in a changing climate. However, a number of special exhibits addressed the environment, politics, and culture. These included the exhibits Sami Heritage in the Tromso area, Sapmi Becoming a Nation, and Sami Culture. Between the Sami Studies programs, the emphasis on indigenous peoples, and Sami history, a full picture of Sami peoplehood was developed. These are the indigenous people of Europe. They cover 4 Arctic nations and speak 9 Sami languages, none of which are Germanic. While the nomadic reindeer herding culture is important to understanding the Sami, that is not the whole picture. The Sea Sami, River Sami, and Forest Sami have distinct cultural contributions and adaptations. The similarities in colonial experiences with the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island were difficult to ignore. This includes loss of land, broken promises, residential schools for children, the loss of language, and the loss of traditional religion, music including a unique singing-chanting style, and crafts. However, like the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, the Sami are still here and are healing. That includes a reemergence of language, singing-chanting, art, and Sami parliaments. The museum is an important resource for informing the public about the Sami past, and just importantly, the Sami present and future.